All right, good morning, traders. Today is June 25th, 2025. My name is John Carignan. I'm the lead instructor here at the BYOB Trading Room. Hey, let's go ahead and get into the monologue this morning, and we'll talk about a little bit about yesterday's performance too. Okay, so today is June 25th. Good morning. Thanks for being here. Thank you, everybody out there in podcast land, digital land, cyber land. Thank you so much for following my content, liking my content, being a part of the BYOB experience. Thank you so much. My SPY pivot this morning is 605.75. Above it, I'm a bull. Below it, I'm a bear. All of the Fab Five are in daily uptrends. All made higher lows and higher highs, closing over their traps and over their 17 EMAs. SPY closed with a 2-hour uptrend and just squeaked out a 10-minute downtrend at the end of the day. Gold and silver both in daily uptrends. Gold made a lower high and a lower low, closing under a bearish trap under the 17. Silver lower high, lower low, closing under the bearish trap, but over the 17. USO, UNG, both in daily uptrends. We'll see how long that lasts. Both made lower highs and lower lows, closing under bearish traps under their 17 EMAs. US dollar index still in a downtrend. We love that. Closed near the 97 area. SPY max paying for today. That's for the options that expire today. That is going to be 605 with a put to call ratio of about 1.4 puts for each call that expires today at 4:15. Hey, let's look at these right here. We had some from yesterday, but we got MChip, UMAC, and FLR. We'll go ahead and take a look at those real quick. Okay, let's take a look at those. Okay, so let's go to the daily chart. Okay, I flagged them because they're possible breakouts. So let's take a look at FLR. Okay, you can see FLR is, let's look at it on the daily chart right there. Okay, you can see FLR is back up there at these highs, getting ready to break out. So we'll see if FLR has a breakout today. Let's look at it with the pre-market. You can see right here, FLR getting ready to pop out of that box, that grinder box up there on the daily chart. Okay, let's take a look at UMAC, UMAC. That is not what it looked like before, I'll tell you that. Yeah, UMAC looked like it was, I must have been looking at it on the wrong chart. Okay, so UMAC is not a flag. Let's look at MChip. All right, MChip, you can see we got a little grinder box right up here, looking ready and primed for a breakout on MChip. Right there. UMAC, the flag needs to come off of that one. And then we've got FLR right there getting ready to pop out of that grinder box right up there. So both of those getting ready to pop out of their boxes there. Let's take a look at what we had from yesterday. And this would have been yesterday's. We had ALGM, MAG, ALGM and MAG were the only two that were flagged. We'll take a peek at those. MAG. I guess I took that off because we started going down. All right, so that was not a breakout. ALGM. ALGM breaking out of the grinder box up here. So ALGM popping out of that grinder box, looking for a new rally high there. ALGM popping out. So MAG did not pop out, so that one got taken off the that one got deflagged. Take a look at one more item here. Intel had a nice day yesterday. I'm watching Intel for a 2-hour chart, looking for a MMRP. So price to come up here, consolidate for 3 more 2-hour candles. All right, and then looking for that to J hook out of here and produce some higher highs for the rally. All right, so there's Intel, looking for Intel to pop up even higher. All right, nice pop up here. Look for to consolidate over to the right and then pop up even higher. So Intel's looking good on the 2-hour chart. Just want to point that out. We traded some of those yesterday. Traded some calls on that yesterday. Yesterday was an awesome day for, let me see, for performance. I think that's it. No. Yeah, that's it right there. Okay, so here's the performance for yesterday. About 64K. You can see all of these. This is what I traded. Traded some Intel calls right here. Some 22 strike, 38 DTE calls. Traded those for a 1-2-3 pattern. That's a move up, and then over to the right, and then a breakout. So I traded some Intel and a lot of these SPY calls. Just buying the dip and selling the rallies yesterday. Now we had a nice, beautiful trend day yesterday on SPY. On the 10-minute, you can see we had a nice 10-minute uptrend over VWAP. All right, so here's our 10-minute uptrend over VWAP. That's what we traded yesterday. 10-minute uptrend over VWAP. Any of the pullbacks in the options, I bought the dips and sold the rallies for those dips and peaks inside this 10-minute uptrend for yesterday. So we'll see what happens today. Looking like we're setting a new rally high this morning. That's great news, right? Bullish gap up. You can see yesterday that didn't get filled by the bears. There's a bullish clue right there. You're looking for 10-minute uptrends after you see that, all right? Unless, of course, the bears fill it. And then, of course, then you're looking for uptrends and downtrends. So we'll see what happens here. All right, so there's SPY on the 10-minute. That's what we traded yesterday, was that 10-minute uptrend over VWAP. Okay, so yesterday's price action, you can see, we'll take it from the game plan here. 3 underneath the 8. Okay, into the close. So little 10-minute downtrend coming into the close. 2-hour chart, 2-hour uptrend, 3 EMA up over the 8 EMA. 2-hour uptrend coming into the close. On the daily chart, higher low, higher high, closing. Look, over the consolidation. Awesome day yesterday. Actually opened and closed over the consolidation. Trend day, by the way, is when price action. When price action is up over VWAP, 10-minute uptrend over VWAP between the hours of 11 and noon. Now, when you get a day like that, 8 times out of 10, it's going to rally that 10-minute uptrend until about 2:30 or about 2:30, unless, of course, it puts in exhaustion candles. All right, but you see that 10-minute uptrend rally well past 2:30, and then there's a 30 to 40% chance that it closes at the end of the day near the high of the day. So not really closing near the high of the day, but not a bad close, closing around 606.77, considering the high was 607.82. So nice work on SPY as a 10-minute. Again, trend day. 10-minute uptrend between the hours of 11 and noon. Chances are you're probably going to get a 10-minute uptrend that's going to last till 2:30. So that was you bought FLR yesterday. Awesome. Way to go, Roasted. All right, so that was SPY on the 10-minute, and you can see that was our trend day yesterday. All right, now let's take a look at the daily chart. Back to the daily chart here. And we'll look at that with the quad lines on it. You can see we're up here consolidating over prior consolidation that's bullish, breaking out of the current consolidation. Looking like maybe we start some more consolidation over that consolidation. That would be nice. We'll see what happens. Daily chart, okay? You can see it's up over the all-time high anchored VWAP. We're in an uptrend. We're making higher lows and higher highs. That's an uptrend. That's always bullish. Price action closing up over the trap and over the 17. That's always bullish. Holding that higher ground. That's always bullish. SPY is in bull mode right now, okay? This is what I like. I like 10-minute uptrends over VWAP that are inside, all right? Those 10-minute uptrends are inside of 2-hour uptrends, that are inside daily uptrends, that are inside of a weekly uptrend. Or you could have weekly candles moving up. See the green dots here? So you can obviously see candles are moving up. Weekly candles moving up, okay? Weekly chart still in a downtrend because they got to take out this high up here. But let's face it, those weekly candles are not moving down. They're still moving up. Monthly, inside of a monthly chart that's also in an uptrend. So we got 10-minute uptrend over VWAP, inside a 2-hour uptrend, inside of a daily uptrend, inside of a weekly uptrend or candles moving up, inside of a monthly uptrend, and all of that over the all-time high anchored VWAP, okay? For me, that's a recipe for success. You're going to get 10-minute uptrends that go further and longer and higher, all right? You're going to get winners more often than losers on those 10-minute uptrends. And you see that over that all-time high anchored VWAP. You can see as price sets off to set new highs. All right, so there's SPY. Not setting any new all-time highs yet, but let me just say day after day we seem to be setting new relief rally or rally highs. Okay, so things looking good here on SPY. Okay, now any one of those could bring on a huge move up. We got some events that are on the table. Nice to see peace over there in the Middle East. That's really nice. Finally got some peace talks going over there, so that's awesome. We also have some trade deals. We're waiting for those to get finalized. We got some rate cuts that could happen, but as long as we see some trade deals done first. So we'll see what happens, all right? But we do got a few catalysts on the table to get us to some new all-time highs. I'm looking for 650. All right, so we'll see how high we get, but I'm looking for 650. All right, so there's SPY. You can see right there on the daily chart. All right, we're up here at the highs, and we're consolidating. See all of this prior consolidation? Well, we're in the supply zone, so it's taken us a while to get through this supply zone. Let's bring out the map and let's take a look at where we are. Okay, so here's a map. As we came into the supply zone, I suggested that we would probably consolidate. We're not going to move through there in 2 or 3 4-hour candles. It's going to take a while. So you can see here's the supply zone. We got some consolidation, I said, and there's highly likely, sorry, that after we consolidate, we move up and consolidate over prior consolidation, all right, because things are looking bullish, all right, and that's exactly what we did. So right now, with the supply in this supply zone, okay, we are right here in the consolidation over the consolidation. We just went through all of this, okay, right here, we went through all of this. This is done, and then yesterday, this is where I made a lot of money yesterday, okay, was on this return trip all the way back up to 605. Now we've gone, instead of doing this right here, we've done this so far. We've gone up higher. So I'm looking for, this is what I'm looking for next. Okay, I'm looking for maybe a pullback to 605 and then hopefully a J hook out of there. All right, we'll see what happens. That's what I'm looking for. I don't know whether that's going to happen. They very well could make a trip, okay? They very well could go up and then make a trip all the way back down to 593, 595 area one more time. Okay, just like they did here. All right, so we'll see what happens. But I'm looking for, this is what I'm looking for, a pullback and then a possible rip. All right, so we'll see what happens. Okay, but that's what I'm looking for. Doesn't mean that that's what I'll get. It very well could pull all the way back to 595, 593 area. We'll see what happens. All right. Nice thing is they produced a higher high. Okay, so that's really nice. Higher high. Okay. If this looks like a failed breakout, okay, I'm just warning you, we could see a fast trip down to 560. Okay, a really fast trip. If they break the major support on the lower consolidation, that will be a temporary break of major support. We don't want that. We could see a trip to 560 and then a fast bounce all the way back up. All right, we'll see what happens. All right, might not get the fast bounce all the way back up. It all depends on how the news kind of lays out. But I think the market wants to retest that midpoint where price rallies back up before going higher. We'll see what happens. So this may be looked at as a false breakout, and then we could see a really quick trip down to the midpoint of the rally and then back up. We'll see what happens. All right. So there's SPY. There's some whiplash possibly in store for us pretty soon before making new all-time highs. We'll see what happens, but that's a possibility. So keep your eyes open for possible whiplash coming soon. All right, so there's SPY. That's the plan. This is how I made a lot of money trading this consolidation right through here. So I 10x my account yesterday. All right, so that was the $27,000 account that I started in the open house on June 2nd. All right, I started that on June 2nd for with 27,000, so I 10x'd it yesterday, so that's 10 times higher on that 27K account. And all I did was trade this plan. All right, this is the consolidation. That's over consolidation. That's what I expected. Every time we got to the bottom, I'm loading up on some calls down here after I see the turn. Loading up on calls. Of course, loading up on calls. Yesterday, you see the awesome day that I had. Loading up on calls for price to return back up to 605. Didn't expect to get there in one day, but wow, what a monster day. Coming all the way from 593 clear up to 605. All right, let's take a look at some of the other stuff. We'll look at the game plan. Let's get this out of the way. All right, let's take a SPY. Let's take a look at the 10. Let's look at the game plan here. All right, so here's the game plan. 605.75. Above it, I'm a bull. Below it, I'm a bear. Okay, we have green erases red. All right, look for a 10-minute uptrend over 607.95. That is a green erases red entry. We are up there right now. Okay, that's a green erases red entry over 607.95. We have a red erases green entry under 603.45. Okay, that's a red erases green entry under there. 10-minute downtrend underneath it. Okay, now if I get a 10-minute uptrend that originates from down here, there's a high probability that I will trade that 10-minute uptrend, probably when it crosses the pivot or sooner. All right, I'm not going to wait for the green erases red entry. All right, I'm just saying if I get a 10-minute uptrend over VWAP and it originates from down here, I will probably most definitely be trading that 10-minute uptrend even before it gets to the green erases red entry of 607.95. Same thing if I get a red erases green entry under VWAP and it originates up here, okay, long before the red erases green entry, which is 603.45. I would be interested in trading that 10-minute downtrend under VWAP long before it even gets to the red erases green, which is 603.45. Okay, so there's SPY. You can see I've got green erases red entry, a red erases green entry. I like 2 days till expiration Friday options with strikes on the multiple of 5, like 590, 595, 600, 605, 610. You got to get the idea, okay? I like 9 days till expiration Friday options. All right, I like Friday options on the multiples of 5, again, 615, 610, 605, 600, 595, okay? You get the idea right there. I like 10-minute uptrends over VWAP and breaking away and up from VWAP, and I like 10-minute downtrends under VWAP, breaking away and down from VWAP, okay? When price crisscrosses back and forth across VWAP, it does nothing but chop your account up, so be careful for that. We had a nice day yesterday. We could see an inside day today, all right? There's a possibility that we have all we get today is an inside day. That would be normal, all right? We'll see. Hopefully we can just ink out a higher high and a higher low and continue to melt up. We'll see what happens. So there's SPY game plan. You can see price action doing a nice gap up. That's a bullish gap up. All right, bears failing to fill that gap. That tells you right there. Bears failing to fill that gap. That tells you right there. The bulls are in charge. The bulls are in control. We want to look for 10-minute uptrends over VWAP. Okay, so there's your clue right there. That bullish gap up anytime you see that. Okay, and then on top of that, we're over that all-time high anchored VWAP. That's awesome. All right, so this is the rally high anchored VWAP right there. You can see price action well over that. That's awesome as well. Setting new rally highs yesterday. All right, so there's SPY on the 10-minute chart. And what do we want to look at? Let's take a look at QQQ game plan. All right, QQQ's got a game plan. Again, we like the same thing. We like 2 days till expiration Friday options on the multiple of 5. We like 9 days till expiration Friday options on the multiple of 5. We like 10-minute uptrends over VWAP, especially when they're breaking away from VWAP. See the separation here? See how price gets separated from VWAP? That's a beautiful thing, okay? That's what we look for. I like 10-minute downtrends under VWAP, all right? I like them down and breaking away from VWAP, okay? Those are nice tradable profit-making events when I get those, all right? 10-minute downtrends under VWAP, 10-minute uptrends over VWAP. Got a green erases red entry over 540.80, all right? And we've got a red erases green entry under 536.25. QQQ pivot, 538.30. Above it, I'm a bull. Below it, I'm a bear. By the way, this 541.84 you're looking at right over here on the right. That is a new all-time high for SPY. For QQQ. Right there. That is a new all-time high for QQQ, 541.85. Okay, just want you to know that. So QQQ, that's the NASDAQ 100. All right, making new all-time highs early this morning, right there. All right, so kind of a clue right there. We're going to be bullish. All right, so good. It's a really good chance we're going to be bullish. All right, so there's QQQ on the 10-minute game plan right there. Let's take a look at it on the daily chart. All right, you can see the higher low, higher high. You can see the all-time high up here. Closing over the trap, over the 17. That's all bullish. Up in quadrant 4. Breaking out of the consolidation. That's bullish. Over the all-time high anchored VWAP. That's bullish. In a daily uptrend, making higher lows. And, of course, new all-time high. Doesn't get any better than that. Okay, so there's QQQ making new all-time highs. So that's an uptrend, higher lows and higher highs. That's an uptrend. That's always bullish. As long as, uptrend. As long as price is moving up. So there's QQQ. Let's take a look at FNGU. So FNGU went back to FNGB went back to FNGU signal. Okay, you can see the consolidation right here. You can see the tops of that. See how everything I can draw a line right across the tops of these candles. So we got a breakout yesterday. Again, higher low, higher high. Closing over the trap over the 17. Nice breakout. Right there. Up in quadrant 4, that's bullish. Holding that higher ground, that's always bullish. Over the uptrend line, that's bullish. Over the all-time high, anchored VWAP. As long as it's moving up, that's bullish. Price action up over the trap, over the 17, that's bullish. Consolidation over prior consolidation, that's bullish. So FNGU, bullish, and in an uptrend, making higher lows, hey, and more higher highs. That's an uptrend, that's always bullish as well. So there's FNGU on the daily chart. Diamond Dow. Got a higher low, higher high over the trap, over the 17. That's always bullish. Okay? Over the all-time high anchored VWAP. Moving up, that's bullish. Making higher lows and higher highs, that's bullish. Okay? Up here in the upper third or quadrant 4, again, bullish. Okay? That's an uptrend. Higher low, higher high, uptrend. Okay? Nice work on Diamond Dow. IWM. Higher low, higher high, closing over the trap, that's bullish. Consolidating over the prior consolidation, that's bullish. Holding the higher ground, that's bullish. Over the trap and over the 17 is always bullish. Over the all-time high anchored VWAP, always bullish there. Let me move this out of the way. I'm just going to take that out. Okay, price action, you can see reaching for the upper third. That's going to be up here. They could get there. We'll see what happens. Right now, they're just kind of neutral, but let's face it, they are exhibiting a behavior of a bullish security or bullish ETF. All right, so they are, again, consolidating over prior consolidation. That's always bullish. You can see price structure moves up, holds that higher ground. That's bullish right there. All right, so look for IWM. Get back up here and challenge those that all-time high. All right, there's IWM. Looking good, not quite as strong as SPY and QQQ. Qs look amazing, making new all-time highs today. SPY not quite there yet, but acting very bullish. IWM not quite there yet, but acting very bullish. All right, let's take a look at our technicals, T2122. All right, if this doesn't tell you we're bullish, I don't know what does. Here's T2122 in the overbought zone from the beginning of the day to the end of the day, okay? That's telling you right there, we're bullish. Whenever you hang out in the overbought zone all day, that's bullish. T2122. T2123, bullish gap up. Back up over the 200 SMA, that's bullish. Making a new higher high, that's an uptrend. Okay, so making higher lows, hey, there's a high, that's the rally high. Making a higher high, that's bullish. That's an uptrend, that's always bullish. Okay, you can see green from the beginning of the day to the end of the day, T2123. Okay, markets are bullish. I don't know what other clues you need, but bullish gap up, not filled by the bears, that's bullish. Over the 200 SMA, that's bullish. Making higher rally highs, that's bullish. T2123. Look at price, hold the higher ground up here. Okay, so we move from this consolidation up to this area, and then we consolidate over to the right, pop out, make new rally highs. That's bullish right there. T2123. Let me just say, markets are bullish. Okay, we're making new all-time highs, we're making new rally highs, we're making, we got bullish gap ups that aren't getting filled by the bears. The bulls are in control right now. Okay, everything is looking fantastic. All right, so everything's looking good. All right, just don't want any false breakouts. All right, it's T2123, 15-minute. 3-bar chart. Okay, 3 more green candle bars yesterday. You can see we're in an uptrend. There's a low. They finally put in a higher low right up here. And you can see we're making higher highs. There's a high. We made a higher high. So T2123 in an uptrend. That's bullish. Price action up over 200 SMA. That's bullish. Over prior all-time high. That's bullish. We need price to come up here, take out that high right there. All right? They can do it. Look at this huge bullish gap up. All right? Not filled by the bears. That's showing you right there. Bulls are in control. The Bulls have the ball. Okay? They may put in an inside day today. All right? But make no mistake, they still hold the ball. All right? T2123. We may consolidate for 4 hours or 3 hours. We'll see. All right? I'm just saying. That's what we might do. But they are still in control. Okay? So there's T2123. There's the 3-bar chart. Let's take a look at FNGU. New rally high for FNGU. See that? 15-minute in an uptrend. Look at this bullish gap not filled by the bears. Another bullish gap not filled by the bears. Okay, you got consolidation over prior consolidation. That's bullish. Okay, see there's consolidation. And we're getting more. Nice breakout here. Okay, consolidation over prior consolidation. See, that's bullish. Up over the 200 SMA, that's bullish. Over the all-time high anchored VWAP, hey, that's bullish. Over the uptrend line, that's bullish. Things are looking fantastic. Okay, FNGU, we watch FNGU because it's got, all right, FNGU has 10 of the most heavily weighted securities in QQQ and SPY. Okay, when those 10 move as a pack, they are capable of moving the rest of the securities inside the QQQ and the SPY. They are capable of dragging the index up. All right, doesn't mean that they'll move the securities higher, but they are capable of dragging the whole index regardless of what the other securities are doing sometimes. All right, so they carry that much clout, that much weight. All right. So that's why we watch the FNGU. It's only 10 of the most heavily weighted securities in the QQQ and SPY. So when they move as a pack, they're going to drag those index in the direction that they're moving. And right now, they're moving up. Okay? So they're capable of dragging those indices higher. All right? So there's FNGU. All right? Let's take a look at few sectors. Let's take this off. Start out with a few sectors. Let's start off with XLE. It's our energy sector getting walloped the day before yesterday. All right, lower high, lower low, closing under the trap and under the 17. That's bearish. Or on the southern side of the midpoint or the midfield or the half court. Okay, that's on the bearish side of the midfield. We're underneath the all-time high anchored VWAP. Okay, that's neutral right through there. We're not in the lower third. We're not in the upper third. So we're just neutral right through here. We're over downtrend line 2, but we're under downtrend line 1. Okay, so we're neutral through here. We're making higher lows and higher highs. All right, but notice on the higher high, they move up and they give it up. They got a problem. They keep moving up and giving it up. But if they keep making higher lows and higher highs, that uptrend eventually going to take us into the upper third. All right, which would make us bullish. Okay, you just need to see them start holding the higher ground eventually. All right, I like the higher lows. I like the higher highs. Okay, I like that, but they have a problem with holding the higher ground right there. Okay, so if they get up there, maybe take some profits. No telling when they're going to lose it again. Okay, so there's XLE, just neutral and in an uptrend. All right, let's take a look at USO. All right, again, making a higher high, that's an uptrend. See, there's a high, made a higher high. That's an uptrend. But look at them moving up and giving it up. Okay, they got a habit of moving up and giving it up. This is USO. Okay, closing under the trap under the 17. That's going to be bearish. All right, over the all-time high anchored VWAP. That's going to be neutral right through there. They lost all of that. making higher lows and higher highs, that's always bullish. Problem is, we're not moving up, we're moving down. Okay, so there's USO. All right, so that's just neutral. All right, on USO. Let me just drag this over so you can see how much we lost. Okay, see how we were up in quadrant 4 and we lost it. All right, so we're back to neutral. We're not in the upper third, we're not in the lower third. Let's take a look at UNG. Okay, UNG down here in quadrant 3, actually in the lower third, so that's bearish. They closed underneath the 12-month high anchored VWAP, that's neutral. Closing underneath the trap under the 17, that's bearish. Closing over the uptrend line, that's neutral. Okay, so UNG right now is bearish. All right, they're in the lower third again for the 5th time. All right, again, they got a habit of moving up and giving it up. They are in an uptrend. If they take out any one of these lows right through here, they will negate the uptrend and convert the downtrend. Okay, UNG showing a head and shoulders pattern right now. Okay, so if they break this neckline, probably going to re-challenge the lows one more time. We'll see. So that's UNG on the daily chart. Gold and silver both in uptrends. Gold up in the holding up in quadrant 4, holding the higher ground. That's bullish. Yesterday's price action, both of them got lower highs and lower lows, closing under traps under the 17s, but they're still up in quadrant 4. That's bullish. Gold still showing an inverted head and shoulders. All right, price action holding that higher ground up there, up in quadrant 4, and still in an uptrend. All right, if they take out that low right there, which is, let's just face it, they get below 301, they're going to have, they'll be in downtrend status, but let's face it, they're still up here in quadrant 4. That's bullish. Okay, so there's gold. Silver in an uptrend as well. Lower high, lower low. Closing under the trap is bearish, but closing over the 17 is bullish. They're up in quadrant 4. That's bullish. They're holding the higher ground up here, so that's bullish. And they're over this 12-year high anchored VWAP. That's bullish. And they're still in uptrend, so that's bullish. Let's take a look at SMH. Quadrant 4, holding the higher ground. Breakout, that's bullish. Okay, XLK. XLK, new all-time high yesterday. Doesn't get any better than that. XLF. Holding the higher ground, quadrant 4, that's bullish. Having a little breakout. See, you got a high, made a higher high yesterday. Okay, right there. Not a new all-time high, but a higher high. Over the all-time high anchored VWAP, that's bullish. Look at price structure move up. Hold that higher ground. Okay, you've seen this before where price moves up and gives it up. Holding the higher ground in quadrant 4. That's bullish, XLF. Let's take a look at IYT. IYT, moving up, holding the higher ground up here. Almost, I'm going to give it to him. In the upper third, so that's bullish now. IYT, finally bullish. Up over the all-time high anchored VWAP, that's bullish. Over the trap, over the 17, that's also bullish. So when we got technology and semiconductors bullish and in uptrends. We've got financials bullish and in uptrends. We've got transports bullish and in uptrends. Okay, we got the makings of a really robust rally. Not to mention we got a weak dollar, all right, which sucks for a consumer because your money's not going to go as far. But for the investor, that's awesome because that means we sell our goods and services overseas and we're more competitive, and we could probably increase revenue by acquiring new customers because our dollar is cheaper now. Okay, so that's all wonderful, all right? So we got a weak dollar. We got all of this stuff in uptrends. Not to mention we got past inflation, all right, which you know what inflation does. Inflation means you're making more money for your goods and services than you were yesterday. Okay, whenever you get inflation, well, you're paying more for the same products and services today than you were yesterday. That's inflation. So when we're paying more, that means those companies are taking in more revenue. All right, if management's got its act together, a lot of that new revenue increase is going to transcend down to the bottom line where the profits are. Okay, you get more profits per share, and what happens is you get a higher price for that security, which in turn makes the market move up. All right, so that's how inflation works on the investor's behalf. For the consumer, it sucks, but for the investor, it's an awesome deal because that's the time to invest when you get that inflation. All right, so there's IYT, finally bullish and in an uptrend. It's always been in an uptrend, but finally getting bullish again up here in the upper third. Okay, so there's IYT. All right, let's take a look at economic package, then we'll wrap this up here. All right, and let's start with, okay, dollar's in a downtrend. Okay, notice this would be major support, is this brick of candles over here. Okay, so this brick of candles right here, that's major support. Notice we broke major support, so now it becomes minor resistance. Notice price pulls back up and it gets rejected. So you can see price action now in a downtrend, moving down and over to the right. Okay, that's a bearish outlook. Okay, whenever you see price move down and hold the lower ground, that's bearish. Same thing when you see it move up and hold the higher ground, that's bullish. A lot of times all we see is price moves up and then moves back. That's just neutral. Or moves down and then moves back. That's just neutral, okay? What we got now is price moving down and holding the lower ground. Okay, so we're in a downtrend and we're in a bear flag. You can see underneath the minor resistance. Okay, so we could be heading lower. A move lower would really probably inspire a big wave up for the market. And let me just say, it's looking primed for another leg lower, and that could rally the market. We'll see what happens, all right? So dollar in a downtrend, lower highs, lower lows, lower highs, lower lows. We're in a downtrend, and we're caught underneath minor resistance. All right, let's take a look at SPY Max Pain. That's a downtrend on the U.S. dollar. Okay, for the consumer, it sucks. All right. All right, for SPY Max Pain, this is for the options that expire today. Max Pain supposedly at 605 with a little over 1.4 puts for each call that expires today. Okay. Again, I'd like to see more melting up. We'll see what happens. On the earnings front, Micron Technology reports tonight, 138 billion. Not really a big market mover, but will definitely help out the semiconductor sector. Okay, got some more familiar names. You've heard of them. Paychex, Jefferies Financial, okay, H.B. Fuller. All right. All of those familiar names, but nothing that's really going to move the markets there. They will definitely help out their sectors. Thursday, what do we got? Again, more familiar names. Nike, all right, McCormick. More familiar names, nothing that's really going to move the markets. Friday, more familiar names, nothing that's going to move the markets. It's only one that looks like they're ready to report, and that's Apogee right here, and they're going to report in the morning. So again, familiar names, nothing that's really going to move the markets right there. On the economic calendar, Mr. Powell spoke yesterday at 10. I think he was testifying for Congress. All right, I didn't hear any good or any bad. You can see the market melted up all day yesterday. It started long before he started to testify. and it went well after he was done testifying. All right, so he really had no effect on the market. Again, I don't think he's going to have any effect until Mr. Trump, all right, can get some trade deals finalized and decide whether we're going to have tariffs or we're not going to have tariffs. That's going to help Mr. Powell decide when he's going to do his rate cuts. He does have 2 rate cuts scheduled for the end of this year. We'll see what happens. We're still waiting on those tariffs, all right, because tariffs are nothing but artificial inflation, all right? That will definitely cause the cost of goods and services for American consumers, all right, to go up, all right? That will be artificial inflation. And that's Mr. Powell's job, is to curb inflation or fight back inflation. So we'll see what happens there, okay? Today, 7 o'clock, mortgage applications. New home sales at 10 o'clock. Mr. Powell speaks at 10. Petroleum report at 10:30. And that's it. Main event is tomorrow, all right? That's GDP at 8:30, all right? With that weak dollar, I'd be looking for a really good GDP. Now, really good is over 3.0. All right, that's really good. Good is over 2.5. All right, but really good's over 3.0. Fantastic is over 4. All right, so we'll see what happens if you're looking for in growth. All right, durable goods comes out at 8:30 tomorrow. GDP 8:30. International trades in goods and services 8:30. Jobless claims at 8:30. Chicago Fed National Activity Index also 8:30. Corporate profits 8:30. Retail inventories 8:30. Wholesale inventories 8:30. Pending home sales index 10 o'clock, and a gas report at 10. All right, so that's it for this morning. I'll take questions in the room. If not, I'm going to render the video, get it out there for everybody in podcast land, digital land, and cyber land. By the way, thank you so much for following me. Special shout out to my friend Bob Jordan. Love the kind comments. Thank you, guys. All right, let's make some money today.